I gotta tell you, Claire, I'm excited about this one. Presenting how the gravity interlock is glue that makes up our universe makes me want to wet my pants.
Don't worry about wetting your pants. Just stick to the script. Let's do this.
Well, I didn't wet my pants, but what do you say? Did I wet my arm? If we want to talk to each other, then yes, I wet my arm. But what does wet really mean in the universe? The universe doesn't distinguish between my arm being wet or not. If we consider water to be an element and my arm to be an element, then they are simply following parameters, guidelines, for when elements come together. They must stick together. Water and my arm simply must interact according to these parameters. The words water and my arm are just descriptions we put on these elements so we can communicate. In this animation, we are going all the way down to where the parameters start, and all the elements must follow to create the 3D universe we know. The foundation of this parameter is the gravity interlock. Using this sticky interlock, we will see that only by manipulating the water and my arm do we say my arm is wet. We had to manipulate both of them. The place to start then would be where we first heard the word gravity. The story I heard growing up was that about 300 years ago, this guy named Newton saw an apple fall from a tree and conceived the idea of gravity. Now, Newton made it possible to calculate the effect this gravity would have on a moving object. If you throw a ball, then you can calculate where the ball will land. If you know the starting weight, height, force applied, wind velocity, all kinds of things. It's then possible to predict the orbits of the planets, moons, rocket ships, lots of stuff. Truly, this genius made it possible for humans to make leaps and bounds forward. Newton died and never knew what gravity was. He never knew that the apple never fell off the tree, that nothing falls. Falling is just another one of the words we use to communicate with each other, to make sense of what we observe. But falling never happens. Now let's take another look at the apple scene. What do we see? There's a tree, some cows, apples lying about. There are also some apples still on the tree. So I ask, how do the apples get on the tree in the first place, before gravity snatches them down? I hear they grow there. But then, what does grow mean? It turns out that by taking grow all the way down to its own roots, we find gravity again. Only this time, nothing is falling. It's all growing. When you think about it, it is not that far down the thought process to find the roots of growing. Everything we see had to have grown at some point. This cow, the tree, the apple, even the picture screen you're looking at right now. Everything went through a growing process. Even though diverse, different, as all these things are, they will follow the same underlying principle of growth. If we look for the roots to growth, we find the apple grows from the tree grows from the soil, dirt, the soil grows from the planet, and the planet grows from cosmic dirt, stardust. And this is our starting point. There is nothing of consequence for us to go any further. We do not exist at this point, and if we keep going farther, we never will. In just an instant, we went from an apple to cosmic dirt. This dirt consists of all the elements that we know. All the elements you ever heard of. Hydrogen, oxygen, iron, gold, all of them. There are about 90 of them, and exact numbers don't matter. At this point, I pick a start for growth. My starting point is the sun. Any sun will do, but let's use ours. And all the cosmic dirt that we now call elements. Doesn't matter which elements, actually all of them. So this is our scenario. A sun and all the elements. Now let's grow some stuff. Imagine you're an element flying through the universe. You can be any element you want. Just choose one you like. So you're flying through space. Your home just exploded into pieces and scattered you and your friends everywhere. You're cold. You're actually frozen solid. Now you don't know where you're at or how much time has passed, because time is irrelevant to you. But something is happening. You're getting little bursts of energy and you feel a change coming on. Those little bursts of energy are becoming more frequent and lasting longer. You're starting to be your old self again. And you're getting really excited. So excited, in fact, that you can't contain yourself and you start vibrating. So much energy.
Waves, 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 waves. You want waves? We got waves. Big waves, small waves, short waves, long waves, personal waves, party waves. Oh, that's a rave, not a wave. Oops. We got 'em though. Let us know what you want. Come on down here, honey. Show 'em what a wave is. Okay, now you run along. Give us a call. Hey, look at this. You want a book on waves? We got 'em. Ladies and gentlemen, we got waves. Waves for your flag. We got waves for your boat. You like making waves? We can help. We even sell waves of destruction, temporarily out of stock. Give us a call. Remember, if it's going away, then you gotta wave goodbye. Hey, Reg. Thanks for showing up.
I just wanted to check out your store, Claire. Selling waves, huh? You really think there's a market for waves?
Doesn't matter. Follow me.
You said you wanted to show me something?
Will you keep an eye on the store, hon? We'll be right back.
You sure hon can watch the store? Might be a big run on waves.
She'll be all right. She's been alone there before. She knows to call if she needs me.
Okay, what do you want to show me?
While I was playing around with the wave that forms around the element, what we call our bubble wave.
Yeah, when the sun's rays hit the element, it'll start vibrating. Those vibrations form a bubble.
We figure as the vibrations spread out, they slow down and the faster vibrations behind them catch up and a bubble forms.
Okay, yeah, we agreed on that. We called it the aura of the element.
I was playing with the bubbles while they were all puffed up, passing each other, like they weren't even there. So I turned the sun off. When I turned it back on, some of the elements were stuck together.
You turned the sun off? Isn't that illegal?
Then I kept puffing up the elements and shutting off the sun, and all the elements close to each other stuck together. When I turned the sun back on, they formed a combined bubble. If other elements get close and I turn the sun off, they stick together.
So when the elements are close, puffed up, you collapse the bubble and we get single element?
Yeah, I didn't do any more because I wanted to figure out why they were sticking together.
Do you see anything going on?
Hang on to something. I think we found gravity. It's the only thing that makes sense. As elements contract and lock together, our bubbles don't completely disappear. They seem to feed off of each other. This interlocking can only be gravity.
So gravity doesn't exist until the interlock happens?
Right, a gravity interlock.
That makes sense, you know. The sleeping or breathing process you're putting the elements through would explain the growing process we've been looking for. puffed up when the sun's out and contract when it's not. You say then that when a vibration of the element interlocks with the bubble of another, they create what? A new song?
Yes, but they don't combine into one instrument. They play off each other, like instruments in a band. I don't see them combining forever or like rocks, because while I was turning the sun on and off, sometimes elements that were stuck together would stick to other elements and they would break away together. So that makes the gravity interlock superficial, not permanent.
Which is exactly what we were looking for, as a way to explain the growing process. Good looking out, Claire. That's at least 2 attagirls. Come on, let's check on Hun. She looked a little out of it, and I'm a little worried.
Here you go, hon. Same time tomorrow?
Claire wanted more FaceTime in this project, so we figured out she could showcase her wave store and at the same time showcase the behind-the-scenes functioning of the gravity interlock. She presented how a bubble wave is formed, how elements interlock with gravity, and that this interlock is superficial, which is the leading cause of death and dying. She presented the way the universe works on a 3-dimensional level, which is where we exist. Now let's continue with our elemental friend who's getting real excited. The element and friends are now circling the sun. There's no telling how long they have been circling, but it hasn't been as long as the big element that keeps flying past them and blocking the sun out. Being so close to the sun keeps the element full of energy. What the element notices, though, is that every time the big element comes around, he starts feeling weaker, and some of his friends start to huddle together. After a while, the element joins the other elements as they form a planet. The planet that the elements created was a pretty rough place in the beginning. To create such a place, the elements had to adhere to certain parameters, guidelines. They don't have an option. As you saw in my animation on prime numbers, the axioms, which are merely parameters, tell you that if a number on one line is multiplied by a number on another line, it must come to rest on a certain line. This must be followed. It's a parameter. Claire presented that when elements are close to each other and puffed up, when they collapse, they must create a gravity interlock. By doing this puff, not puff, day, night, breathe in, breathe out scenario, a planet was formed. There are other parameters in play besides symmetrical patterns and puff, not puff. Temperature is another one. Besides following parameters, the elements are forming a foundational structure that the biological systems that we know will adhere to. There are times when elements stay together and form chain, strings of elements we call DNA, blueprint for a structure. A symmetrical pattern elements combine on to form something, an apple, blade of grass, us. All this brings us back to the guy watching an apple fall off the tree. Newton was right to say he didn't know what gravity was. We can see now that the apple didn't fall. Other elements that were puffed up contracted when they came in contact with the apple and interlocked, causing the interlocks the apple already had in place to release, appearing to Newton that the apple fell, but it was just following a natural parameter. Well, that's it. I have been trying for days to wrap this up with some profound statement, something that ties it all together. But there's nothing to tie together. The universe is just a simple mechanism. Element gets excited, expands, contracts, gravity interlock forms. Since everything is just an element of elements, everything in the universe follows this simple process. So what's next? The whole point of this animation is to entice you to support me. This animation can only animate what I tell it to animate. I want to get a computer system large enough to program a system that will act like the universe. For the Gravity Interlock, I have a rudimentary sticky algorithm. So I set the elements in motion, assign some parameters, not too hot, not too cold, insert a DNA sequence, a symmetrical pattern, apply the sticky algorithm, and stand back. In a short time, we will be able to simulate the whole universe.